What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of the tribe, and welcome back to another video with me, your bold boy Scribe. How the devil are we all doing today? Oh yeah, we are talking about Raid Shadow Legends, ladies and gentlemen, and the brand new download link that I have for all you wonderful people at home. I'm going to be going over every single unit that you can get with this, as well as the promo code that you should be using to give yourself the best possible start to Raid Shadow Legends. So before we begin, these promo codes only work, this setup only works with brand new accounts. So if you are looking to do that, you are going to have to do a couple of things. Namely, you have to completely sign out and uninstall Raid Shadow Legends on your account, create a new email using the link in the description down below, sign up for a new account there, download the game, and as soon as you've beaten the prologue, you are going to start off with your first character. Who is that first character, ladies and gentlemen? One of my trusted favorite units in the game, Tholin Foulbeard over here, will be the very first unit that you get for your characters. This guy is an absolute beast when it comes to damage output. He will be able to clear through all of the campaigns for you, and he will be an absolute staple for you, tackling the dungeons, tackling the clan boss. Obviously, he's going to be great as well in faction wars. Now, this guy, I've managed to clear all 25 levels of every single dungeon. Well, actually, not the desert dungeons, but things like Dragon, Ice Golem, Spider, all that sort of good business, all the way through. Obviously, Minotaur, all of the potion keeps as well, all of them straight through to the final tiers without any real issues. This guy single-handedly will dominate, okay? Now, you can tell by my equipment, he's just got a smorgasbord of stuff. I've really just tried to make sure that I've got over 100% crit rate on him and thrown as much offense as I possibly can on him otherwise. Let's go over his kit then. One of the cool things about Tholin is he's got a lot of AoE damage. So his basic over here, Demon Breaker, is an AoE attack already, and it has a 25% chance of placing a weaken debuff for 2 turns. It also has a 50% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns if the target is from Corrupted Alliance, a boss, or a minion. It also grants an extra turn if the weaken debuff was placed on all enemies by the skill, which is great. You land that weaken debuff, booyah, bonus turn. It's really, really good. His second ability then is Back to the Abyss, attacks one enemy 2 times. This is like your single target high damage. All of his other attacks are AoEs. This one just does a lot of damage to one unit. Each hit ignores 25% of the target's defense. If the target's from the Corrupted Alliance, a boss, or a minion, each hit ignores 50% of the defense instead. Each hit decreases the target's attack as well by 5%, stacking up to 25%, and increases this champion's attack by 5%, stacking up to 50%. So obviously in longer battles, this ability is really, really good because it's going to ramp your damage over time. Finally, you've got his second special over here, or third ability, Rabid Fury, attacks all enemies 2 times before attacking, places a 50% increase attack buff on this champion for 2 turns. For each critical hit landed on the first hit, increase the damage dealt on the second hit by 10%, ignores unkillable and shield buffs. Damage is based on attack, obviously. Now, this is really, really good. Obviously, really, really powerful, hard-hitting attack. Gives you that increased attack bonus before landing it, and if you do crit, you're going to do even more damage again. That's why, again, really important. Get that crit chance over 100% with your masteries included, all that good business. Crits are absolutely mandatory on your attacker units, all right? He has got a passive called Evil Nightmare. Activates Demon Breaker skill every 5th turn this champion takes, which is just his basic. So every 5 turns, he's just going to use his basic as well. So you'll be going around, you'll be using your basic, you get a bonus turn, you'll be using your special, and every 5 turns you'll just go, I'm just going to do my basic on top, which is an AoE. Really, really good damage there. Enemies from the Corrupted Alliance, bosses and minions can't land critical hit on this champion, so a little bit of extra survivability. He does have a leadership aura, increases all allies' attacks by 30% in all battles. I'll be honest, it is not one that I use very often. Generally speaking, I like to have something that's either speed-based or a little bit of survivability, but in the early stages of the game, if you're not worried about your speed, if you're not worried about surviving, having more attack can sometimes just pull you through the event, right? Or just get it done quicker. For the blessing, I've gone with Nature's Wrath. I'm not sure if I'll increase this or change this as I get additional red stars on this, but hey, this is what I've gone for at the moment. Increases the damage inflicted by this champion for every debuff they have successfully placed, except debuff placed by gear sets. So obviously he's got debuffs over here. He's got the weaken there, and I think that's pretty much his only debuff on his basic. But he does follow up every single 5 every 5 attacks. For every 5 turns, he does an extra one here. And it's an AoE weaken as well. So it does slowly ramp him. Masteries then, let's take a look at the masteries. I've gone for offense and defense over here. Obviously we want precision, extra crit chance, really, really useful. Extra crit damage. If we've got over 100% crit chance, we're pretty much going to be critting every single attack. So more crit damage is good. I've gone for Heart of Glory over here. Increases damage by 5% when attacking with full hit points, which is nice. Increases damage inflicted targets with less than 40% of their hit points by 8%. We've got the Life Drinker, so we're going to heal by 5% of the damage inflicted when attacking with 50% hit points or less. We've gone for Cycle of Violence over here. 30% chance of decreasing the cooldown of a random skill by 1 if the damage inflicted by a skill exceeds 30% of the target's maximum hit points once per turn. Being able to cycle through your cooldowns is great. If you're using the first special, or your A2, you're going to be increasing your damage output. If you're going to be using the second special, you can go through unkillable and shield debuffs and stuff like that. Lots of damage, lots of AoEs, all that good business. We're also getting Bring It Down, increases damage inflicted by 6% when attacking targets with higher maximum hit points. Great for raid bosses and stuff like that. We've got Methodical, increases the damage inflicted by this champion's default skill by 2% each time it is used during battle. Stacks across the round in a battle up to 10%. More damage is more damage. And we've got Kill Streak, increases the damage inflicted by 6% in arena and siege battles and 3% in other locations for each enemy killed by this champion in battle. Stacks across each round in battle up to 12%. More damage as battles progress is useful. Finally, we have of course gone with War Master. It's pretty much a staple for any offensive based unit. 60% chance of inflicting bonus damage when attacking. Bonus damage is equal to 10% of the target champion's maximum hit points or 4% of the target's maximum hit points when attacking bosses. Bonus damage can only occur once per skill and does not count as an extra hit. So it doesn't help you with stuff like, you know, Fire Knight and that sort of thing. Defense then, extra defense over here. We've also got decrease the damage received from AoE attacks by 5%. He is a little bit squishy in my experience, so it's good to have him a little bit defensive. 50% chance to remove one random debuff from this champion when they lose 25% of their max hit points or more from a single enemy hit. Then we've got Delay Death, reduce the damage this champion receives from specific enemy by 0.75% with each hit taken from that enemy. Damage reduction stacks up to 6% for each enemy. And finally we have Retribution, a 50% chance to counterattack when this champion loses 25% of their maximum hit points or more from a single enemy skill. Should keep him in the game and let him do his thing, which is inflict boatloads of damage. The next unit that you will unlock by using my download code is going to be Fane. Now, I don't actually have a Fane in my account. That's part of the reason why I wanted to provide this one to people at home, because I do believe that Fane is a very, very useful unit from the Skinwalkers faction over here. So, Spirit Affinity from Skinwalkers originally introduced as one of the epics required for a fusion event for Vergumkar. I don't have that fusion event at all. Her best role is within an unkillable clan boss team, where her low defense no longer a drawback and her damage potential can be fully realized. More traditional clan boss setups, however, she can be difficult to keep alive over long fights. She excels in single target boss encounters thanks to the combination of decreased defense, weaken, decreased attack, and poison spread across her active ability. This kit not only boosts the damage dealt by allies, it reduces incoming damage, but also adds a strong damage over time, making her effective against bosses such as the dragon. So you can see that some of the core areas that she's really good is the Demon Lord clan boss. That is specifically within, from what I gather, an unkillable setup, but I feel like if you get her early in the game, you'll be able to plan for it in the long run. A large part of raid is what do you happen to pull when you go to summoning events, what do you happen to get, what legends do you pull, if you happen to get, you know, Wixel, then you're going to be in a great position, right? If you've got her set up, you're ready to go. Essentially, looks like apart from that, she is pretty good in the Chimera, and she's pretty good versus the Mimic in Grim Forest and the Fire Knight dungeon by the looks of it. Those are her areas of specialty. Okay, her skills then. Basic Exotic Blade, attack one enemy 2 times, each hit has a 35% chance of stealing 5% of the current target's turn meter. That is actually pretty good versus the Demon Lord. 2 attacks, not the Demon Lord, sorry, the Fire Knight. 2 attacks obviously isn't great for taking down the shields, but you have got a chance there to reduce the turn meter, which is great once the shield is dropped. Special 1 or the A2 attacks one enemy, a 75% chance of placing to 5% poison, that is the increased damage poison over there, and a 50% decrease attack. Obviously these buffs are great, or debuffs rather, are great versus any bosses really, but really good in a clan boss situation. Poison is a good stacking source of damage. Decreasing the attack of the enemy obviously lets you survive a little bit longer. Then we've got her A3 Flowing Style, attacks one enemy 3 times. The first hit has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense. Great versus clan bosses, great versus any real boss. You know, 60% decreased defense means the incoming damage is going to skyrocket for 3 turns as well, so it is quite long. The second hit has a 75% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuffs for 3 turns, and the third hit heals this champion by 4% of their max hit points for every debuff on the target. Not a bad way to be. She is a little bit squishy from what I gather, so it's probably not going to be super useful. And it looks like a 5-turn cooldown can be reduced to 4 overall. So when we're looking at masteries, if you are going for the clan boss setup where you've got an unkillable setup going up, this is what is recommended in Hell Hades over here. Obviously you want that crit chance. Yes, you're going for the Grim Resolve over here, increases damage inflicted by 5% when attacking with 50% hit points or less, which if you've got unkillable, that's probably going to be happening quite a lot. Increased crit damage, a little bit of lifesteal. Of course, you're going with Cycle of Violence over here, 30% chance of decreasing the cooldowns of random skill. We're also looking for Single Out, increases the damage inflicted to targets with less than 40% hit points by 8%. Increase the damage inflicted by 6% when attacking targets with higher maximum hit points, which is going to be a lot of the time. And then down here we're going with Methodical once again, as well as Killstreak. Final, we're not going for War Master over here, we're going for Giant Slayer, 30% chance of inflicting bonus damage when attacking. This bonus damage equals to 7.5% of the target's champion's max hit point, or 3% of the max hit point of bosses. Bonus damage can occur once each hit on the skill, but does not count as an additional hit. Then we're going for a defense setup over here. Tough Skin once again for the flat defense. Blast Proof to reduce AoE damage from, well, all sources, but in particular bosses, right? And then Resurgence has a 50% chance to remove one random debuff from this champion when they lose 25% of their max health or higher. Delay Death, reduce the damage this champion receives from a specific enemy by 0.75%, stacking up to 6% damage reduction. And then finally Retribution, 50% chance to counteract when this champion loses 25%. Basically the same setup as we had for Tholin, okay? You can do a killable version. I won't go through all the various masteries on this. Looks like the awakened 1 to 5 star awaken is going to be Phantom Touch. If you happen to get all the way to 6 stars on her, Crushing Rend is the recommended blessing over here. All right, great. So once you hit level 20, you will be getting yet another epic unit. And the epic unit that you get at level 20 is going to be Allure. Now, the reason I chose this unit for level 20 is because I really enjoy using Allure. I pulled her organically. I actually think I've got a duplicate of her now, but I haven't built up the duplicate, obviously, because I'm still working through trying to make my roster a little bit broader. But this girl, I love her. She's got really good use cases in the game. You do want to be building her in the very typical way of lots of speed and lots of accuracy, okay? I have a whole video guide on this girl. She's great, particularly in the Finite Dungeon. She will get you that level 25 with the right setup. So you want her to be fast and you want her to have lots of potency. I've got a 129 additional speed and 318 on her accuracy. Generally speaking, when it's looking for accuracy, you want to have about 10 to 12 points of accuracy per level of the dungeon that you're going in. So dungeon level 25, you want at least sort of 250 accuracy, but realistically, you probably want a little bit more. So this is probably a little bit on the overkill side. Apart from that, just throw on as much speed as you possibly can, as well as much crit rate as you can. You can see I've got an additional 70% crit rate from my artifacts over here, bringing her to 90%, and we'll get over as to why in just a moment. So over here, I'm using an accuracy banner. That's the easiest source of accuracy. If you can also get it on your armor, your chest piece, that will be another really high source of accuracy. And I'm running a speed set and an accuracy set over here in terms of equipment. Relics, I've got the turn meter reduction a relic over here, Tempest Sanguinis. This thing, she does a lot of turn meter reduction. We'll see that in a second. This is just going to get boosted by 15% on my current one. So let's look at the skills. Psychic Whip. The good thing about her, you don't really need to skill her up. You don't really need to book her, okay? So attack 3 times at random, decrease the target's turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. This is why it's important to have her crit rate high enough, because in order to reduce the turn meter on the enemy, you do need 2 things, which is land the hit, land the crit, and then land the accuracy check, right? Having your crit chance high, having your accuracy high means you're going to strip that turn meter down. Really, really useful when you are fighting against the Fire Knight. Obviously, when he's got his shield up, you're still getting 3 attacks, which is great. But when he's got the shield down, you're going to be stripping back that turn meter every time. The second ability, you don't tend to use it. It's usually just the basic that we're going to be using, but attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing 30% decreased defense debuff for a turn. Places a sleep debuff for 1 turn on targets under decreased defense. And that's about it. You can reduce the cooldowns. You don't really need this ability. It's all about the basic. It's all about that A1. Secondly, you have Hellish Blaze over here. Attacks 1 enemy, a 30% chance of inflicting a critical hit, and ignores 50% of the target's defense. If you wanted to, you could try and build up for damage, but honestly, it's all about that basic. Really, really useful against anything that can be controlled turn meter wise. I use her as well versus the spider. Use her, throw her in with something like Cold Heart. You can control the turn meter quite handedly, as well as let Cold Heart do all of the damage. She's a really, really useful unit. When it comes to masteries over here, I've gone for a very similar setup. Not gone, once again, for War Master. I've gone for Giant Slayer over here. And of course, secondary stats, we're going to go with Support. Now, the reason we go with Support is extra accuracy mostly. Extra accuracy. This just makes it that much easier for us to land that turn meter strip. Because that is her sort of one-trick pony, is just basic away, strip away turn meter all you can, letting your other units do the damage that they need to do. I think she's a fantastic unit. I think you'll really enjoy using her. But we are not quite finished yet. Once we hit level 30, we are going to be getting another unit. And this time I've decided to give you guys my favorite healer unit, Tagore. Love my boy Tagore. This guy is dope. He is from the Orcs faction, and he is there to keep you alive, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going through campaign, if you just set up, Tholin and Tagore, or if we'll get onto a unit, another legendary unit in a second, you will be able to clear campaign getting all the stars all the way up to Nightmare in the end. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. What does Tagore bring to the table? Survivability. A1 attacks 1 enemy 2 times, placing a 60% increased defense buff for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest current hit points. So whoever's struggling, they get increased defense. Great. Special 1, cooldown of 3 once you're fully booked. This guy attacks all enemies, placing a 30% increased speed buff on all allies, and then heals all allies by 15% of this champion's hit points. So you want this guy to be very fast and a big old chunky amount of hit points. Build those 2 things. This heal will come around real quick. 3-turn cooldown is great. AoE heal, increased speed, really good support unit. Then you've got the A3, Rise and Fight. This is an AoE revive. Revives all dead allies, with 30% of their hit points, and places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of Tagore's maximum hit points. So you're double dipping into that viability, that use case of maximum hit points, giving yourself big old shields, as well as putting a nice shield buff on all allies and fully healing. All right, so Revive, AoE Revive, the shield buff can be useful as well against things like the Scarab in Doom Tower, because you need to have a constant source of shield buffing. Keeps you in the game. AoE Revives, absolutely love this dude. Finally, does have a passive, Aid the Feeble, decrease the damage received by allies with 50% or less hit points by 10%. Just keeps people alive. As far as aura is concerned, he does have a hit points aura, 25% in all battles. It is useful for a lot of the time. Sometimes in the early game, when you don't quite have all the equipment, you just need that little bit of additional survivability, and he can really help out. I often use it to Tagore's leadership when clearing through the campaigns for the first time. The blessing, I've chosen to go for Cruelty. Whenever this champion hits an enemy, decrease their defense until the end of the round. Occurs once per hit. If multiple champions have this blessing, it still can't decrease the single champion's defense by more than 40% or decrease a boss's defense more than 20%. I find that one quite useful. comes to masteries, we're still going with an offensive setup here all the way down to War Master, but apart from that, we are going defense. So flat defense over here, as well as reduced damage from AoEs. Standard setup over here of Resurgent, 50% chance to remove debuffs, and delay death, the decreased damage from repeat hits from particular champions, right? Then we've gone for Retribution, 50% chance to counterattack. That is going to put that shield, not that shield buff, the increased defense buff on your weakest ally. And finally, Deterrence, 20% chance to counterattack when an enemy when they apply Stun, Sleep, Fear, True Fear, Freeze, Petrification, or Sheep debuff on any ally. Cooldown of 1 turn. That's the setup that I've gone for to go. Absolutely love this bloke, think he's fantastic. The last part that we're going to be looking at then is Pelops the Victor. If you want to get this guy, day one, you want to be going in using your promo code, and the promo code is Super Victory. Victory. This here will immediately give you the legendary unit Pelops the Victor, okay? Love this bloke to the world and back. He basically operates as a tank, even though we call him a hit point legendary unit. He is going to be stacking up a bunch of burn hit point status effects. He's going to be placing AoE shield buffs, as well as this unique magma shield effect. He can petrify enemies. He's just super, super useful. Really useful in dungeons such as Spider, of course. Spiders, they can get that AoE burn, start chipping away at the enemy hit point, and he's just very, very tanky. Now, my setup over here is not particularly great. I've just gone for as much hit points as I can because his shield buff is basically based on his max hit points, and I've gone for some accuracy. His speed is way too low, but I'll fix that at a later date. Now, when it comes to the equip relic, I don't really know what to use for this one. I've currently got Howling Guardians on him. I should probably have Golden Elixir or something like that to keep him alive. Let's look at skills then. The basic, maybe the least important one in terms of getting your books up. You really want to have the specials done. But let's start off with the basic. Triumphant Blow. Attacks one enemy. 75% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be resisted or blocked if the target is under HP burn, which is going to tie into this passive over here, Master of Games. He is immune to stun, HP burn, and petrification. Whenever an enemy attacks this champion, he has a 100% chance of placing an HP burn debuff on that enemy for 2 turns. This chance decreases to 50% if this champion is under a decreased defense debuff. Occurs once per enemy skill. Whenever an enemy attacks this champion, there is also a 50% chance of applying a petrification debuff on that enemy for 1 turn. This chance is decreased to 25% if this champion is under decreased defense and can only occur once per enemy skill. So this is why we do want to have some accuracy on him. We want to land that burn. We want to land that petrification when it does trigger. First special is Gorgoa's Bane then. Attack one enemy, ignore 50% of the target's defense if they are under an HP burn, which they should be. The damage inflicted by this skill is increased by 10% for every turn remaining on any debuffs on this champion and the target, stacking up to 200%. So if they've just burned their specials and you've used your second special, this is going to do a lot more damage. If the damage inflicted by this skill is less than 50% of the target's maximum hit point, steal all the buffs from the target and place a stun debuff on them for 2 turns. This effect cannot be resisted if they're under an HP burn effect. Really, really useful. Stealing all the buffs, you can use it to get rid of their taunts, they're unkillable, all that good business. Really, really useful, and stun them. The second special is the juicy one though, Victor's Bounty. Place a 50% increase attack buff and magma shield buff on all allies for 2 turns. This counts as a shield in terms of Scarab, so good to know. The value of magma shield is equal to 30% of this champion's maximum hit points, which is why I like to build hit points, and places a taunt buff on this champion for 2 turns. Decrease the damage of all allies received by 20% whilst this champion is not under a decreased defense debuff. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, only one will activate. The skill will not activate on duplicate copies. Yada, yada, yada. Really, really powerful. Now, aura-wise, he can increase resistance in all battles by 60. There might be some use for this. In my experience, resistance checks are so hard to hit. I've never really found use for it, I'll be honest. I've gone for Brimstone on this guy. I like to be able to land Brimstone occasionally. There may well be a better blessing to have on him. In terms of masteries then, we've gone straight down to War Master on the left-hand side over here because I do love me some War Master, and the rest of it is going to be in support. I want to have that extra accuracy. We want to have extra accuracy all the time. Lots and lots of extra accuracy, 30% chance of increasing the turn meter by 10% when a buff cast with this champion is removed or expires. He does cast quite a few buffs, so it's useful to have. Then we've got Cycle and Magic, 5% chance of decreasing the cooldown of a random skill by 1 at the start of every turn. Very, very useful to be able to get rid of those cooldowns. Keep that Magma Shield buff up at all times. And Lasting Gifts, a 30% chance to extend the duration of any buff cast by the champion by 1 turn. Useful for that Magma Shield, useful for that taunt, right? And over here we got Master Hexer, a 30% chance to extend the duration of any debuff cast by this champion by 1 turn. Does not extend stun, sleep, freeze, provoke, fear, true fear, bomb, or petrification. Alright. That is going to about do it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you do want to have access to this, you need to sign up through my QR code or by using the link down in the description down below. Let me know what you thought of these are. Let me know what your thoughts are on these setups over here, and let me know if you start playing. I will see you all in the very next video. Peace out and big love.